How's it going, everyone? It is me, Stateside here. We're going to be taking a look at every Premier League club this 23-24 season and see who they need to sign if they want to truly compete in the Premier League this season. Starting off with Arsenal, we're going to take a look at Declan Rice. Declan Rice is a leader. He's a future captain of Arsenal, and he can play that 6, or he's even developed into an 8 as well. He can play either role for Arsenal. I think personally he'll play more as a 6. I think Havertz will play that 8 role. We've obviously already signed him. And then we've also signed nearly signed Urian Timber as well. Hopefully those two signings aren't going to have an effect on the signing of Declan Rice, but I do think Declan Rice is going to end up being the final purchase, hopefully once he finishes up his vacation, obviously finishing up his England international duty right after West Ham finished their European competition, which they won. He'll be coming to Arsenal, I think, in the next few weeks. Next up, we've got Aston Villa, where we're going to take a look at Marco Asensio. Asensio having played 9 games, having scored 9 goals, 6 assists, with very inconsistent game time. He's coming in on a free. I think it'd be an excellent signing for Unai Emery. Obviously, that Spanish link-up. And with European nights, he could bring experience that Aston Villa needs. Bournemouth, they've just completed the signing of Justin Kluivert right before I recorded this video. So I'm going to say they go for Enzo Lefebvre, or Lefebvre. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it. Lorient midfielder. He can play a 10, 8, 6. He's played it all. And I think he'd be an excellent job as a Lerma replacement, or even an 8. Obviously, he could play a double 8 with Philip Billing as well. I think personally is how they should do it. Or you can have him as a 6 and then buy an 8 and then have Billing in the 10 if you really wanted to, or Billing in the 8. Really, Bournemouth midfielders, they could play almost anywhere if you get Lefebvre and Billing in that midfield together. But I think he will be crucial, especially now this makes sense. It just makes sense with Bournemouth's ownership also having a major stake in Lorient as well. I think that Enzo Lefebvre, it's just a natural move into the Premier League for him. Very easy, done deal. Brentford, I'm going to go with Jack Clark. Obviously played for Sunderland this last season, did an excellent job. 9 goals, 11 assists, got a big assist in the championship playoffs for Sunderland. Frank, if he wants to switch back to a 4-3-3, that gives him a left wing option there. So it'll be Clark, Mbemo on the right, and then obviously Ivan Toney in the center. Would be a very good mix in a front 3 there for them. For Brighton, I've gone with a goalkeeper from Anderlecht, Bart Verbruggen. Dutch goalkeeper, I believe it is. 3.8 saves per game, 8 clean sheets this past season for Anderlecht, and I think a lot of his numbers match up to Diego Costa of Porto, but I think he is going to be on a much more convenient budget for Brighton, and I could see them in a few years selling him for a very, very nice fee up in the 50-60 million mark. Burnley, I went with a League 2, not English League 2, a French League 2, striker by the name of Georges Mikautadze of FC Metz. He scored 23 goals, 8 assists last season. He's obviously a League 2 player. I don't think you'll have to pay too much for him. I can't remember if they've gotten brought back up from League 2 to League 1, but I do think he's a player that Burnley want in the Premier League. Obviously, big figure, can definitely impose himself in the box and give that presence that Burnley may need up top this season if they plan to stay up. Chelsea is an easy one for me. Caicedo, I think he'll play excellently with Enzo Fernandez, and I think it gives Enzo a lot more freedom. And this isn't even a signing for Chelsea or a signing for Caicedo. This is a signing to give Enzo, to unlock Enzo Fernandez for Pochettino. He can play him in that 8, with Caicedo covering that 6. He can play with a very attacking 8 in Enzo Fernandez. Crystal Palace, I'm going to go with Per Schurz to replace Anderson. I think Anderson's on the move this season, possibly to Newcastle. And then, you're getting an Ajax Academy product who's pretty decent passer of the ball. 23-year-old. He fits into the very young defensive mold that Newcastle is where Anderson's going, that Crystal Palace are trying to build. Everton, I'm going with Wilfred Gnonto. Gnonto, I believe is how you say that. It's just the most logical pick's probably Dembele, but that's not the most exciting pick. I'm going to go with the most exciting pick in this case. His ceiling is so much higher than Dembele. He's much younger. He offers wing cover for Everton, and he not even cover. He'll probably start for Everton, and I just think he's got a very high ceiling and could be a big move for them and definitely in a few years help them keep their financial fair play back under wraps. As you know, they've struggled with these past few years for Everton. Fulham, I went with Joshua Burnett. I believe he plays for FC Twente. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce it, but he plays right back primarily. He's played 100 games at left back over his career as well. Both of those positions could be worrying, especially with Anthony Robinson on the move for Fulham. But that right back position in particular, very important position that Fulham need the coverage on. Liverpool going pretty easily. Midfielder Gabri Veiga. They're yet to pick a deal. It's nearly done, apparently, according to transfer Twitter accounts and stuff like that. They've got a very young midfield coming up with a lot of talent, and he would just add to that as well, playing probably as an 8. For Luton Town, I went with Cody Dramé. He was on loan from Leeds. Leeds going down, Luton Town going up. It makes sense. He had a quality season on loan for Luton Town. I just see this one fitting the bill just perfectly for Luton Town, fitting right back in that side. You don't have to replace the loan player, and you can fall in love with that loan player and it not be an issue. Up next, we're going to take a look at Man City, who already agreed personal terms with Gvardiol of Red Bull Leipzig. Laporte replacement. He's an excellent player. Very good, left-footed, I believe, center back, obviously. And Red Bull Leipzig won $100 million, and I kind of hope they go for it because that would probably force them out of a Declan Rice move, which I would love. Obviously, and then next, Manchester, other side of Manchester and United. Osimhen is the player they need. Now, whether that's going to happen is a big up-in-the-air move because they have the money. I think they have the money. I don't know. But they won't spend that money under the current owners, or at least they won't spend that money under the current owners as they're trying to sell the club. Same thing with Liverpool. There's a reason Liverpool didn't get Jude Bellingham. It's not because Jude Bellingham didn't want Liverpool. It's because Jude Bellingham was way too expensive for what the Liverpool owners wanted to spend. And at the end of the day, that's why Liverpool forced themselves out of that move. Newcastle United, I'd go with Maddison. Of course, he's still linked with them, yet to make the move. But the Tonali deal is done. I think he's just doing his physical next week. Bruno, Tonali, Maddison would make an excellent midfield, in my opinion. He can also take right wing from Almiron if he really wanted to, depending on what Eddie Howe decides to do with that midfield. And then moving along to Nottingham Forest. This one was pretty basic. Roman Saiz, he's a budget center back. Not much else to say there. They haven't been linked with too many players, but I say just go ahead and get a center back, shore up your defense. Roman Saiz obviously had an excellent World Cup. Has been doing very well for Besiktas, but could make a move back to the Premier League here this season. Having already played in a 3 center back option, 5 back with Wolves previously in the Premier League, he has that experience and can definitely give a lot to Nottingham Forest. Sheffield United, I went with Jack Hendry of Club Brugge, I believe it is. Bring the Scot into the Premier League, let him see what he can do there for Sheffield United and see if he can help keep them up defensively. Tottenham, another player being bought from West Ham, I'd say Jared Bowen. You've got Kulusevski, Son, and Bowen as a front 3. Seems decent enough. Seems enough to get you Europa League Tottenham. I don't see that front 3. Or even if you keep Richarlison up front and play like a Kulusevski, Son, and then Jared Bowen off the bench, something of that sort you could do as well. He's very underrated, but you still might get a decent fee for him, West Ham fans, because of his English tax, of course. West Ham, I think, in return for Rice, Eddie Nketiah is going to end up getting sold to West Ham at some point. He's slowly getting phased out of Arsenal with the purchase of Kai Havertz. He's very unsettled. He needs consistent minutes. And as an Arsenal fan, I want to see him flourish. I want to see him do well. I hope we maybe keep Balogun for this season at least. But never know what's going to happen there. Lastly, we've got Wolverhampton, where we got Victor Gyökeres, 21 goals, 10 assists, 6'2". He's a presence in the box. It's a need for Wolves. He's a championship player, so he's got the budget to fit Wolves in their financial fair play restraints. Ruben Neves obviously been sold to Al Hilal. That deal is done. I'd say go ahead and bring in this striker. The Swedish striker can do an excellent job for Wolverhampton in the Premier League. Anyways, guys, that's all I have here. That's the end of the video, and I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know who you want your club to sign. If you're a Premier League, if you support a Premier League team, or even if you don't support a Premier League team, let's say you're a Wolfsburg fan. Tell me who you want Wolfsburg to sign. It could be a Premier League player that you want to come over to Wolfsburg. Obviously, don't just throw out, I want Mo Salah to come to Portsmouth, but because that's not obviously going to happen. Let's be realistic in the comments. I'd love to have a discussion with you guys, learn some new things about new players or players that are currently linked to your club. I'd love to learn new things. Obviously, most of my videos are centered around the Premier League, but I'd love to learn more about new leagues as well. So let me know what you guys think about transfers for your club. Anyways, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.